Hiya, welcome to my Compound Life. I'm your host, Jonathan. This is a channel where we build assets, we build great habits to manage all of our assets. And of course, we build freedom. That should really be financial freedom for you, for me, for everyone else that watches my video. And this is another episode of Bitcoin Daily. Today, it's the 29th of December 2025. So a bit of Bitcoin price action update for the past 24 hours. Right now, Bitcoin is trading at around $89,400 to about $90,000. In the past 24 hours, it went up at, I think it went up a pretty big, 2 to 3%, starting from around 87,300, hitting a high near 90,400 and a low around $87,000. So I think overall this morning, as soon as I woke up, I was pretty excited. Yeah, excited with 2 to 3% pump. I mean, okay, maybe not excited, but anyway, the market seems pretty excited with the quick pump. More people buy after a slow holiday, right? Are you guys buying after a slow holiday? And plenty of shorts got liquidated, which is great too, right? You know, great for the bull. Feel sad for the bears, unfortunately. But of course, Bitcoin, we are still far away from the recent all-time high back in the 8th of October of around $126,000, and we are still 30% much more lower. So I think overall price action, it's a short-term bullish price action. You know, it does give people confidence, traders to want to come back. But is this a confidence that people are getting into Bitcoin, or is this just yet another manipulation from market makers or crypto exchanges? So we'll see. Time will tell I think by the time US market open. There are no Bitcoin ETF or ETH ETF update today, but I want to highlight something specifically on the ETF, right? Specifically on Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF. I think a lot of the headlines that you might be seeing these few days on social media will be something like SOL and XRP ETF see money inflow last week, whereas Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF see money out, essentially means outflow. Okay, so this is just news headline on social media, either to FUD Bitcoin or to mock Bitcoin performance, right? And I think specifically last week closing, right? SOL ETF took in inflow of $13 million. XRP, okay, I don't usually cover XRP, but the sheer amount of inflow, you know, it's worth the while for me to mention this morning, right? So XRP itself took in 64 million of inflow dollars, okay? And BTC, of course, it was a massive outflow of 782 million, followed by Ethereum outflow of $102 million. Just because I cover daily inflow and outflow for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and SOL ETF, these few weeks mainly outflow specifically for Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? This does not indicate that Bitcoin and Ethereum are extremely underperforming. Okay, in the media, in the headline, they zoom in just one of the poorest day, right? Just before Christmas, like 175 million outflows on Christmas Eves. You know, it's making Bitcoin sound like it's falling off the sky, right? It's like the most terrible investment out there. So guys, you need to pause and zoom out, because US spot Bitcoin ETF still holds well over $114 billion with almost $57 billion in net inflows since launch. Okay, so that record outflow that you were seeing on the press, on social media and so forth of 175 million, barely 0.1% of assets. Okay, so these are just noise. So these are noise to try and scare you out, to FUD Bitcoin and so forth, right? So what I want to highlight here is it's mostly rotation. Investors are dumping expensive funds like Grayscale's GBTC. You know, it's obviously down over $20 billion, and they're piling into cheaper ones like the BlackRock's IBIT. You know, obviously it's up over $62 billion. So same ecosystem, but of course better and more attractive fee. So that's why people rotate. And of course, global inflow numbers explode. That's something you guys need to take a note of. You know, all the time I would just usually cover US ETF for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so. But I just don't really have much of the data for other countries, right? So if we look at the global inflows, we saw weeks with $6 billion inflow and monthly highs over $7 billion. So the occasional weekly dips, you know, under 3%, it's nothing in comparison to the growth that Bitcoin ETF, Ethereum ETFs, institutions adoptions are bringing into Bitcoin itself. You know, so that's why we need to take note. ETF flow aren't always real buying or real selling, right? Funds hedge with futures or use inventory, so inflows, outflows don't always move the spot Bitcoin price directly. Okay, take note of that. So that's something we need to be mindful of when we go about in reading the daily ETF data, I guess. So once you fully zoom out, the real story that I want you guys to be aware of is Bitcoin crypto investment products brought in nearly $47 billion in 2025. So institutional money is pouring in, no doubt. Short-term headlines are just that, short-term, right? Don't let any of the red days, weeks, or even months scares you, as I anticipate more red weeks and months to come, especially when we heading into a bear market. But overall, the trend is heading up. Adoption for Bitcoin is real, and Ethereum and Solana. I won't call out XRP. Maybe one day I'll cover a little bit of XRP, but FYI, XRP is not one of the bag that I hold. I used to own some XRP, but ever since it pumped a little bit, I made some profit and I sold. So I don't hold any more XRP, and I don't endorse XRP because, personally speaking, I don't see too much utility on XRP itself. And the fact that the tokenomics on XRP are simply just terrible, it does feel like, you know, whomever buy the assets will continue to make a loss, because there's just a sure amount of XRP that gets printed, and so that's why I really just focus on Bitcoin in my channel for my compound life, because this is definitely the asset that you all need to have more conviction onto, and this is also an asset that will have more longevity, right? And even, you know, watch my other video about quantum computing and the time frame that quantum computing can potentially hit Bitcoin, well, this will be decades away. So not to worry about. Bitcoin continue to be a very, very strong asset that we all should continue to hodl and continue to keep stacking, I guess. Yes, so overall, the trend for Bitcoin is continue to be heading up. Adoption is real. Bitcoin is still compounding. So hodl smart, stay calm, and don't panic sell. It's what I want to address. So drop a like if you're not panic selling. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Let me know who you are. I'm really low in my subscribers count. I'm a new content creator. Any subscribe, any likes, any comments will just make me continue to make more video, right? And I need you guys to support me on this journey for my compound life, and I'm sure many of you guys will benefit from it too. Okay, so move on to news that moves Bitcoin price. Not too much news because we're still on holiday in the western part of the world, except for Asia, right? So silver and gold, obviously all-time high. I've mentioned it many times, and maybe we are seeing some money rotation, right? Because silver and gold hit all-time high in the past recent days, but now dip while Bitcoin pump a little bit, right? So are we seeing rotation? I've mentioned countless times in many of my earlier video, maybe rotation will be coming pretty soon, right? Or maybe rotation will not be even coming until sometime in next year, but we'll see. So let me know in the comment section, what do you think? Will rotation be coming anytime soon? Will we see a Santa rally finally, right? Or will rotation actually kicks in much more later, maybe by Q2 next year? I don't know, we'll see. All eyes, and another news to cover that potentially will affect Bitcoin price is, I think, all eyes on stock market now, since stock market had the best close last week. So US S&P 500 hit $6,932, highest weekly close ever, up 43% from April low. S&P 500, obviously many of you should know, these are top 500 companies in the US that covers from technology stock. Will definitely showcase how strong of an economy US is based on the S&P 500 performance. So it doesn't have that direct relationship affecting the Bitcoin price. However, strong performance on S&P 500 usually lead to sentiment, investor sentiment, and ultimately, give them confidence of whether to take on more risk on assets buying like Bitcoin. So I think overall, these are all great news. And other interesting news to cover. If you're not on X, well, if you're on X, you'll be able to capture this. ZZ. So ZZ is the Binance founder of Binance. He's not the CEO anymore, but I think he's still got plenty of control on the exchange itself. So Binance founder ZZ says Bitcoin better than gold and will flip gold market cap soon, sometime. Well, he said sometime, but I kind of read that as soon. Okay. Imagine that if it flips gold current market cap, I don't know how big. Okay, imagine if it does flip gold, assuming gold's market cap is around 18 to 20 trillion dollars market cap. Bitcoin only need to take a small percentage of that. That will eventually bring Bitcoin back to its all-time high of 126,000, or even going higher, right? So we'll see how it all goes, because gold itself, people don't have confidence of the US market. So that's why a lot of money are getting poured into gold, right? However, the setup for Bitcoin next year, like rate cut, quantitative easing, although, not fully confirmed, right? I did cover the video. Rate cut might not be confirmed. Quantitative easing, like money printing, might not be confirmed. A friendlier Fed that, that doesn't just increase rate, that doesn't just apply quantitative tightening, will be more friendly to Trump's initiative, will be introduced next year. So all of this setup are essentially to drive the growth assets higher, right? So if all of this does play out, and more of the gold's market cap will be shifted, rotated out into Bitcoin, potentially. And of course, what Bitcoin is suffering right now will be, okay, if investor does want to get into risk asset, right, they'll consider Bitcoin, no doubt, because they know that it performed well. However, they might also want to put it into AI, right? AI stocks and shares, right? So essentially, we'll see how that pans out. I still truly believe that, we still will get our time for Bitcoin. We just have to wait. So Bitcoin currently is side chopping, but we can definitely see the side chops are getting less and less, right? The volatility of the side chops are getting less and less. I just felt, I think, give it another few more days, Bitcoin will have to confirm, will it be, we'll have to confirm on the breakout. And will that be breaking up higher or lower? Currently, we do not know. But the fact that the price action, the side chops are getting a lot more less, essentially it means breakout will happen very, very soon, I think in the next couple of days. So we'll see. So I think CZ's comment, I think it's pretty bullish for all of us in the short term. Definitely long-term bullish, I just felt, because there will be so much growth opportunity there. And more hopium for every one of us. According the former PayPal president, David Marcus, he said Bitcoin is going to $1.3 million. We are still early, so obviously he's definitely seeing global adoption is knocking, for Bitcoin. You can see that the financial system is preparing for a blockchain upgrade, and digital assets are at the center of it, right? So Bitcoin, any other digital assets will definitely be benefited from this transition. So do not panic sell yet, right? Do not panic sell your Bitcoin. As long as you can financially sustain, even if you're in profit for your Bitcoin, right? If that bits of Bitcoin is in your swing bag, right? Just move some to the hodl bag, right? I've got one viewer, I think, what's his name? I think it's Marcus 89 or something. Oh man, let me just quickly pull this up. So I've got Marcus, I can't, oh man. So he obviously mentioned, he's starting his Macker 89. Yeah, so Macker 89 mentioned that he's well on track to, to establishing, to finalize his hodl bag, and then one day he'll start a swing bag. So congrats to Macker 89. But I always think that, Bitcoin, it's one of the best asset that you want to hodl and ride with it. And do not let your hodl bag be reduced, right? You want to constantly be adding into your hodl bag. Even one day, you know, so how I'm doing, I have a hodl bag as well as swing bag. Hodl bag, I don't touch it. That I'm leaving it for my kids, for my grandkids and so forth, right? But my swing bag, I do buy low, sell high. But every now and then, right, whenever there's opportunity, right, maybe you want to add more into a hodl bag, right? So yeah, that's my advice here. So do not panic sell. As long as you're in Bitcoin, you have position early, we can ride the wave, right? That's important. You don't want to be the one that gets left behind, okay? You don't want to even be the one that gets left behind with a small hodl bag, right? Because rightfully, we should really be building up a much bigger hodl bag as we're moving along, okay? So bear that in mind. Okay, one interesting one final one. Bitcoin proxies companies dip coming soon. Okay, so Q4 with Bitcoin dip means big impairment hits for Tesla, Strategy, and miners. And what that means, so expect earnings hit ahead resulting stocks dip. Okay, so for Bitcoin holders, so in my compound life, yes, I'm not a Bitcoin maxis. I'm a Bitcoin holder, but yet I also have other assets because I feel more comfortable having more other assets in place that are still performing, right? So whomever there are Bitcoin holders that also hold Tesla, MSTR, miner shares, don't panic sell, as this could be another classic buying opportunity before the next leg up for Tesla, for MicroStrategy and so forth, right? So because, you know, these companies, they also hold Bitcoin, and Q4 performance for Bitcoin, the price dip. So that's why it will also result in the earnings dip, you know, post-earning dip too, right? So take that into consideration. Could be a good buying opportunity for Teslas, for Strategy, and so forth. Okay, so overall for the past 24 hours, Bitcoin pumped to about 90,000, up to the 3%. Definitely exciting to see Bitcoin back, especially in Europe. In Europe. I'm in London now. You know, great to wake up to a $90,000 Bitcoin. Would definitely be better if one day we can also wake up again for $100,000 Bitcoin. So as explained before, I think I've covered that a little bit in yesterday's video. People see this as a profit-taking opportunity because we are indeed touching back on the 50 days moving average, which I've mentioned, it's dropping very, very fast. At present is around 90,500. So yes, plenty of people will be taking profit every time when we near or about to touch the 50 days simple moving average. Okay, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Please hit the like, hit subscribe. I'll drop many alphas on a daily basis, and let me know who you are if you're a new subscribers, and I'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye.